Two groups that are really pushing to take America back are the Moral Majority and the Christian Coalition. The Moral Majority is founded by a guy named Jerry Falwell. And I'm going to ask you, does anyone know who that is? Every self-respecting American should know who Jerry Falwell is. I'm just kidding. Jerry Falwell was in my time, when I was growing up in the 1980s, he was a televangelist. Does anyone know what that is? People who preach on TV, and not only preach on TV, but they ask for money. They're like, I can heal you. Give us $1,000, right? For the ministry. Jerry Falwell is that guy of the Moral Majority, and again, the whole idea is taking back America. You ever heard that before? You know, we hear it in elections sometimes, and you hear it from the more conservative members of America like this. Take America back. And, you know, it's a type of Christianity that's going to push for values to be instituted upon everybody. You know, outlawing abortion is the big one. Making darn sure that same-sex marriage never happens. That's a big fight. The Christian Coalition is another group of evangelical Christians that are going to work to be politically active. They're under the leadership of a guy named Ralph Reed. Ralph Reed is a very outspoken critic of liberal policies. So it's kind of like it's got this undercurrent of evangelical Christianity, suburban conservatism, Sun Belt. And that's going to impact the way the Republican Party is going to go. And that force in American politics is going to start to take over the Republican Party. And the Republicans are going to become ever more conservative to the point where they are today. The Republican Party is very conservative today. But it all starts back in 1964 with the Republican National Convention. You have a guy named Barry Goldwater who's a outspoken, just very conservative guy. His disciple is a guy named Ronald Reagan, who will be the president later on in the future. And that current in the Republican Party is going to basically swallow up the moderate Republicans. Now, in politics, that's kind of what happens. The moderates, there's always wings of a party, okay? And Democrats have it too. There's more moderate ones that are right down the middle, and they can go both ways on some issues. But the more conservative ones are the ones that are swallowing up the party and changing it. Adding to that are, besides evangelical conservatives, we have what are called fiscal conservatives. Fiscal conservatives are people that believe in low taxes, less government, and basically for government to do an amazing amount less than what they're actually doing. In California, it starts. Pretty much every big trend in America starts in California. As they say, as California goes, so goes the nation. In California in 1978, you have a very famous proposition that's on the ballot. You know how we vote for propositions? Yes and no? This proposition is called Proposition 13. What Prop 13 basically does is it caps your tax rate on your property so that it can't go above that. Like it can be, like the way it works is when you buy a house. Does anyone own a home in here? Cool. When you buy a house, you'll see that you get taxed on it. There's property taxes, and you can get assessed a new property tax. You can't go above what's called the Prop 13 limit. In other words, like if your home changes value, like if it gets more valuable, like if your house increases its value, you can't be taxed on the increase of the value. You have to be taxed taxed on whatever it was when they first assessed it, like when it was first built or whatever it was. Okay? So, and not only that, Prop 13 basically changed the way that schools were funded, because then, and I'm getting too technical here, I'm sorry, but hopefully that you understand this, but basically it effectively lowers the tax rate in California so that people can keep more of their money, but it kind of hurts social services and public schools. Well, that's where the movement starts, and this Prop 13 becomes kind of a, I don't know what you would call it, kind of a light to the rest of the nation. Like, okay, as a people, we can overcome high taxes. You know, we can do it. And so all around the nation, there are similar measures that are passed. And who's leading this? You know, it's conservative groups. So you've got anti-tax conservatives, which are called fiscal conservatives, and you have evangelical conservatives. And now they're going to merge together in one big conservative mass of people and do this to Jimmy Carter. It's like just what the Warriors did to the Grizzlies yesterday. Oh my gosh, really? You know, or Floyd Mayweather the other night. It's just basically, well, that wasn't really much of a fight, was it? But anyways, Jimmy Carter just, I mean, it's almost like when you combine all the stuff that happened with Carter in 1979, the revolution in Iran, the Afghanistan invasion, all that kind of stuff, plus the bubbling up of conservative feeling, Jimmy Carter couldn't withstand it. I mean, it's like just a total blowout, right? And the 1980 election was all about that. And Americans, by and large, throughout the country, felt compelled enough to nominate Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan, like I was kind of saying here, has what you call the Reagan Revolution. You know, it's made up of corporate elites, which are basically like big business owners, the, you know, richest Fortune 500 people in the United States. You got neoconservatives, which are like what you call neocons, who want to basically make America stronger, you know, militarily, peace through strength. Let's not sign treaties with the Soviets. Let's outspend them and build up our military on them. You know, that kind of stuff. Those are what neoconservatives are. It's also just populist conservatives. These are folks that are kind of very religious, the suburban conservatives. It's like you have this really good thing going here in the Republican Party now. The modern Republican Party today is very much patterned after this. Okay? The Republicans are today very much how they were back in 1980 when they elected Reagan. They're overwhelmingly white. They're overwhelmingly wealthy. They're overwhelmingly for a very strong national defense. They are very much for family values and Christian values, God, country, all that kind of stuff. So that's who Ronald Reagan gets his support from, and that's what Ronald Reagan, who he is. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there, and we'll talk about Reagan next time because he's very interesting. Let me pass back the quizzes, and let's go over it.